serial killer, a ghost hiding in Austin. He was never seen for years, but in the end, he was arrested. Let's start from the beginning. In the first few months of 2023, Austin was gripped by a single, abject fear. News reports, Twitter, and after-dark chatter all repeated the same terrifying idea. A serial murderer was on the loose. The theory had been driven by what appeared an indisputable chain of murder. But as police chased a ghost born of tragedy and hearsay, they would unknowingly stumble upon a blood and flesh beast. A killer who had been killing for decades, right under their noses the entire time. Austin, the live music capital of the world. It is a city of buzzing culture, huge tech campuses and nightlife that's straight up electric. But under all that neon light, a dark tale started unfolding. It started as a rumor, a terrorized whisper that spread rapidly into a citywide panic. People became convinced there was a ghost haunting Austin's go-to party strip, attacking victims by surprise at night and leaving them in the depths of Lady Bird Lake. They even gave him a name, the Rainey Street Ripper. It was a city which held its breath, convinced that a ghost haunted the city streets, and reality proved stranger and much more evil than anyone had ever dreamed of. This is the story of how the search for a myth ended in the search for a monster. But was this all coincidence? Or was something far more sinister at work? The Rainey Street Ripper myth didn't suddenly pop up. It grew out of a series of extremely real, extremely tragic events. Austin, the self-declared fun, safe city, began to feel a creeping fear. At the heart of the fear was Lady Bird Lake, a reservoir that bisects the city and one of its most lively nightlife districts, Rainey Street. The madness started with a viral internet figure, 38 bodies. That was the figure that was being shared everywhere. A chilling count of 38 individuals supposedly dragged from in or around Lady Bird Lake since 2022. This was the foundation of the serial killer legend, being retold in countless TikToks and frightened Facebook posts. But there was one critical fact embedded in that statistic, the phrases in or around. This was a large geographic area, parks, trails and bridges, where deaths from all types of causes, suicides, accidents and natural causes, had happened. The Austin Police Department's official record painted a different, though still tragic, picture. From 2022 to mid-2025, they reported that 19 bodies had been discovered lying immediately in the lake itself. It was lots of deaths, but it was a world away from the horrific figure that was bandied about on the internet. This difference between what the authorities announced and what people perceived created a vacuum, and fear and rumor leaped right in to occupy it. The real cause of the panic across the city did not come until mid-2023, with 2 fatalities that seemed to confirm everyone's worst fears. On February 13th, the body of 30-year-old Jason John was found in the lake. He had been missing for approximately a week, having been seen last on Rainey Street after a night on the town. Then, on April 1st, another body was found, 33-year-old Jonathan Honey, who was in town for a bachelor party. He was also seen last on Rainey Street. To a terrified populace, the connection appeared clear. 2 young men, both missing from the same party neighborhood, both found in the same cold, dark water. It looked like an obvious and frightening pattern. The ghost now had a name, a stalking ground and a profile, the Rainey Street Ripper. If the ghastly murders were the match, the internet was the gasoline. The Rainey Street Ripper's story was not a local legend. It was a global cyber phenomenon, a live case solved by an army of online detectives. A Facebook group called Lady Bird Lake Serial Killer, Rainey St. Killer, began in February 2023 and blew up, amassing tens of thousands of members and ultimately topping out at nearly 100,000. It became the online headquarters of the Ripper theory, a place to disseminate news, maps, and crazier speculations. On TikTok, the number Rainey Street Ripper hashtag went viral, garnering millions of views. Dramatic videos, typically set to ominous music, showed the purported proof, warning people not to go to Rainey Street and never to go out alone. Throughout, the Austin Police Department held firm. There was no evidence in any of these cases to substantiate claims of foul play. Then Police Chief Joseph Chacon faced the rumors head-on, saying that while the deaths were tragic, they were not unexpected for a city with a large body of water adjacent to a vibrant bar district. Police added that the trend was the dangerous mix of alcohol and openness of the lake at night. But to an already anxious public, such remarks did not provide comfort. They were used to arouse suspicion. The police already enjoyed the public's distrust, so there was fertile ground for conspiracy to grow. Redditors and Facebook users were claiming that the APD was hiding the details of the deaths, that they were censoring the news to not damage the city's billion-dollar tourism industry. Every official no-foul play declaration was utilized and twisted as proof that they were covering something. The rumor hit a fever pitch in the form of a since-deleted but highly circulated posting. A self-described local bartender claimed to have heard from a patron that he had been the Ripper, describing how he stalked men on Rainey Street. The post was wholly unsubstantiated, an internet-age urban legend, but it gave the spectre voice and motive, cementing the legend further. Then came the testimonies of the survivors, which seemed to be the missing piece, evidence of foul play. The most publicized account was Jeff Jones, a 38-year-old Bostonian here on a bachelor party in June 2023. Jones went out with his friends, and when it was finished, he found himself separated from them. The next he remembered, he was waking up in a hospital 17 days later, having been in 2 medically induced comas. He had fallen 25 feet from a bridge, his injuries devastating, broken vertebrae, broken shoulder, and severe internal damage. But the most horrific fact was in his toxicology report. It revealed benzodiazepines, a sedative that is often used as a date rape drug, which Jones swore he never took. "There's no reason why I would have had that in my system," he later claimed. Jones thinks he was spiked and pushed. His case, and those like it, were the cornerstone of the serial killer theory, clearly showing these weren't random events. The simulated cauldron was boiling over, and the city's fright felt more real than ever. For all the cyber panic and valid fear that gripped the city, if you step back and look at the evidence, the chilling story of the Rainey Street Ripper starts to fall apart. The theory, it turns out, is a virtual identical copy of an discredited, years-old country conspiracy known as the smiley face killer theory. That hypothesis posited a chain of drownings of young men throughout the country were the work of a band of killers who perpetrated smiley face graffiti at the scenes. The FBI investigated and discovered nothing to base it upon. The same empirical methodology reveals the same reality in Austin as well. Facts on the ground simply do not lend themselves to a single killer. A closer look at the evidence of fatalities reveals a string of unrelated incidents. The case of Josue Moreno was often posted on websites as a Ripper fatality, but Moreno was murdered in a homicide where he was shot while driving his vehicle, an entirely unrelated crime to the drownings. There was an arrest, and the suspect eventually pleaded guilty. In another case in point, during February 2024, a woman's body was recovered from the lake, a direct refutation of the hypothesis that the Ripper was killing only men. Maybe the saddest and most explanatory case is that of 17-year-old Irawamiri Shote. In June of 2025, his body was found floating in the lake, and the rumors of a serial killer quickly reignited. But the truth was a tragedy witnessed firsthand. The teen was paddleboarding with his family when he got off his board close to a hidden underwater shelf and went underwater. It was a tragic accident, not the act of a monster. And what of the 2 original cases? The official autopsy reports of Jason John and Jonathan Honey returned with a verdict that was unfortunate but not mysterious. Travis County medical examiner declared both deaths accidental drownings. Alcohol had been consumed by both men, but no date rape or illegal drugs were found. With Jason John, the report had a revealing tidbit. A bystander had witnessed him vomiting at the water's edge moments before he went into the lake. The eyewitness and the science pointed to a horrific accident, not a murder. So what was really happening at Ladybird Lake? The solution is a perfect storm. Firstly, the lake itself is dangerous. It's been banned there since 1964 because of its murky waters, sudden drop-offs, and underwater obstacles. Second is the reality that it lies directly next to Rainey Street, the city's most congested area of bars, where the beverage of preference is a heavy one. Mix in darkness, drunken bad judgment, and dark access to a fatal body of water, and the worth of a fatal mistake is too high. In response to the hysteria, the city invested almost $1 million in safety upgrades like new fencing, better lighting, and cameras. But for an already so convinced public of a cover-up, these measures were interpreted as a sign of guilt. And then, just at the peak of the Rainey Street Ripper frenzy, a miracle coincidence happened. The Austin police had arrested a true, self-professed serial killer, but he was not the Rainey Street Ripper. His was the name of Raul Meza Jr. Raul Meza was a 63-year-old man with a long record of violent crime. He had murdered a child, 8-year-old Kendra Page, in 1982, but was paroled after serving only 11 years of a 30-year sentence. In May 2023, while the city shook in fear of a ghost, Meza called authorities himself. He confessed to murdering 65-year-old Gloria Lofton in 2019 and murdering his most recent roommate, an 80-year-old man, Jesse Fraga. When he was arrested, he had a duffel bag with a gun, zip ties and duct tape on him, and told detectives he was ready and prepared to kill again. Meza pleaded guilty in September of 2024 and was sentenced to life without parole. Police believe he may be connected to as many as 10 other cold cases. The timing was just odd. While Austin was tracking a ghostly killer along the lake, a real monster, one who attacked old and helpless people in their own homes, was caught. Raul Meza had nothing to do with the Ladybird Lake drownings. His arrest was this jarring, ominous coincidence that resolved the distinction between the city's fantasied horrors and an altogether more terrifying, real monster. The verdict is in: the Rainey Street Ripper does not exist. He's a modern-day urban legend, born of a mix of real tragedy, real dangers, and the amazing power of social media to spread terror. Reality is more nuanced, and in many ways, truer and more heartbreaking than myth. It's not a story of one monster, but of the dozens of personal catastrophes waiting to happen when alcohol, night, and water converge. It's a story of our own worst nightmares in the information age, and how quickly they can outpace us. The chase of the ghost of Rainey Street was a chase of a spectre, but in a twist no one saw coming. It was at the exact same time that a real monster, who had stalked the city for decades, was finally brought to light. The story is a reminder that sometimes the scariest truths are not the ones we invent, but the ones that have been in front of our faces all along. Do you believe that social media can make something like this happen? Did you ever suspect that the Rainey Street Ripper was real? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more true crime where fact is distinguished from fiction. Thanks.